There's an incredible freedom that comes when you stop apologizing for who you are. For too long, many of us have been conditioned to believe that we need to tone ourselves down, be quieter, softer, smaller, more acceptable to others. We're told not to be too loud, too ambitious, too emotional, too confident. But what if your too much is actually your power? What if the very thing you've been hiding is the thing that makes you unforgettable? Confidence begins to transform your life the moment you decide that you will no longer dilute yourself to fit into someone else's limited idea of who you should be. Owning who you are is not arrogance. It's not pride, it's clarity. It's knowing that you were created with purpose, with strength, with individuality. It's realizing that you weren't meant to blend in, you were born to stand out. Every quirk, every flaw, every bold dream, every passion you carry, it all matters. And when you embrace all of it unapologetically, you give others permission to do the same. You become a mirror of what's possible when a person chooses authenticity over approval. People will always have opinions. They'll label, judge, and sometimes misunderstand you, but you weren't put here to meet everyone's expectations. You weren't designed to make yourself smaller so others feel bigger. When you apologize for who you are, you give away your power. But when you stand tall in your truth, you reclaim it, and the world begins to adjust. They may not always agree with you, but they'll start to respect you. They'll see that you're not playing by their script, you're writing your own. Confidence is not about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about showing up with your flaws and still saying, "This is me, and I am enough." It's understanding that your voice matters, your presence matters, and your perspective is valid. The moment you stop trying to be what everyone else wants you to be, you start becoming who you were always meant to be. That's where true confidence lies, in your willingness to be yourself in a world that constantly tries to mold you into something else. So stop apologizing for taking up space, stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. You are not too much, you are exactly enough. And when you walk into every room like you belong, not because someone told you so, but because you decided, you begin to realize just how powerful, worthy, and unstoppable you truly are. Confidence doesn't just appear one day like a gift wrapped in a bow. It's not something you're born with or something you wake up possessing because you're lucky. It is something you build, brick by brick, choice by choice, moment by moment. Every experience that tries to break you, every failure that stings, every rejection that echoes in your heart, they are not wasted. They are building blocks. They shape your spine, your voice, and your presence. Confidence is not inherited. It is earned through the grind, through the growing pains, and through the decision to keep going even when everything inside you wants to give up. There's a tendency to look at confident people and assume they've always had it, that somehow they were wired differently. But if you strip away the glamour and success, you'll often find someone who started from the same place, full of doubts, questions, and fears. What made the difference wasn't that they had it all figured out. It was that they kept showing up. They kept choosing to believe in themselves when no one else did. They kept speaking, standing, and fighting for their place even when the room tried to silence them. The truth is, confidence grows in discomfort. It blossoms in the places where you feel uncertain and unseen. When you do something hard, when you speak up in that meeting, when you walk into a room where you feel like the outsider, when you fail and still rise the next day, you are strengthening something inside of you. You are teaching yourself that you can handle whatever comes. That's how confidence is built. It's not about waiting for the moment you feel ready. It's about doing it scared, doing it unsure, and proving to yourself again and again that you are capable. And once you begin to see this, everything starts to shift. You stop looking outward for permission. You stop comparing your journey to someone else's. You begin to understand that confidence is not a finish line. It's a decision you make daily. It's how you carry yourself, how you speak to yourself, and how you rise after you fall. The process might be messy. It might be painful, but it's also powerful. Because once you build real confidence, no one can take it from you. It becomes part of your DNA, it's yours, and with it, you stop just surviving. You start rising. Fear is something that lives in all of us. It whispers in our ears when we're about to take a risk. It tells us we're not good enough, not ready, not deserving. But confidence isn't about never feeling fear, it's about choosing to show up in spite of it. It's about walking into the room even when your hands are shaking. It's about speaking up when your voice is trembling. It's about refusing to let fear control your actions or define your worth. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the quiet strength that says, yes, I'm scared, but I'm doing it anyway. The world has taught us to wait until we're fully prepared, perfectly polished, or absolutely sure before we take a step forward. But the truth is, if you wait for the perfect moment, you might wait forever. Confidence grows when you dare to move without certainty, when you're willing to take messy action, when you stop demanding perfection from yourself and start embracing progress. Every time you act in the face of fear, you gain something powerful, evidence. You start collecting proof that you can handle hard things, that you can walk through fear and come out stronger on the other side. There's something magnetic about people who show up with shaky hands but steady hearts. The kind of people who admit they're nervous but still rise to the occasion. These are the ones who build true, unshakable confidence because they're not performing. They're choosing courage over comfort. And that courage becomes a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. You begin to realize that fear is not a stop sign. It's a sign that you're on the edge of growth, that you're stretching, that you're alive. What matters most is not how confident you feel in the moment, but what you do with the moment you're given. Sometimes you have to pretend to be confident before you feel it, and that's not fake, it's faith. Faith in yourself, faith in your ability to figure things out along the way, and eventually that faith becomes your foundation. The more you practice showing up even when you're afraid, the more natural it becomes. You stop running from fear and you start walking through it, and on the other side you find strength you never knew you had. You discover a voice that was waiting to be heard, and you realize that confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you step into, even with trembling feet. There's an incredible freedom that comes when you stop apologizing for who you are. For too long, many of us have been conditioned to believe that we need to tone ourselves down, be quieter, softer, smaller, more acceptable to others. We're told not to be too loud, too ambitious, too emotional, too confident. But what if your too much is actually your power? What if the very thing you've been hiding is the thing that makes you unforgettable? Confidence begins to transform your life the moment you decide that you will no longer dilute yourself to fit into someone else's limited idea of who you should be. Owning who you are is not arrogance. It's not pride, it's clarity. It's knowing that you were created with purpose, with strength, with individuality. It's realizing that you weren't meant to blend in, you were born to stand out. Every quirk, every flaw, every bold dream, every passion you carry, it all matters. And when you embrace all of it unapologetically, you give others permission to do the same. You become a mirror of what's possible when a person chooses authenticity over approval. People will always have opinions. They'll label, judge, and sometimes misunderstand you. But you weren't put here to meet everyone's expectations. You weren't designed to make yourself smaller so others feel bigger. When you apologize for who you are, you give away your power. But when you stand tall in your truth, you reclaim it, and the world begins to adjust. They may not always agree with you, but they'll start to respect you. They'll see that you're not playing by their script. You're writing your own. Confidence is not about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about showing up with your flaws and still saying, this is me and I am enough. It's understanding that your voice matters, your presence matters, and your perspective is valid. The moment you stop trying to be what everyone else wants you to be, you start becoming who you were always meant to be. That's where true confidence lies, in your willingness to be yourself in a world that constantly tries to mold you into something else. So stop apologizing for taking up space. Stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. You are not too much. You are exactly enough. And when you walk into every room like you belong, not because someone told you so, but because you decided, you begin to realize just how powerful, worthy, and unstoppable you truly are. One of the most powerful shifts in life happens when you stop waiting for someone to validate you. It's easy to fall into the trap of constantly seeking approval. From parents, peers, bosses, even strangers on the internet. You post something and refresh the screen, waiting for likes. You speak an idea and immediately look for someone to nod. But real confidence begins when you stop handing your worth over to someone else's opinion. You don't need a round of applause to know you're valuable. You don't need a trophy to know you're talented. You don't need permission to know you're ready. The only person who needs to believe in you is you. When you place your confidence in the hands of others, you live on shaky ground. One negative comment can shake you. One cold glance can undo your progress. But when you validate yourself, you build from a solid place. You don't ask, do they like me? You ask, do I respect myself? You stop letting the noise of the crowd drown out your own voice. You trust your intuition, your decisions, your dreams, and even when it feels lonely, you know that being aligned with yourself is worth far more than being accepted by everyone else. Confidence means becoming your own biggest supporter. When things don't go your way, you don't beat yourself down. You lift yourself up. You remind yourself of what you've overcome. You speak to yourself with the same kindness and encouragement you'd offer someone you love. You don't wait for the world to recognize you before you recognize yourself. You own your brilliance, your strength, and your journey. No matter who's watching, the truth is, not everyone will understand your path. Not everyone will clap when you rise. Some people will question you. Some will judge. Some may even try to stop you. But you weren't put here to convince them. You were put here to fulfill your purpose. And that starts with believing you are enough even when no one says it out loud. When you stop waiting for validation, you take back your power. You become the writer of your own story, the voice of your own truth, the protector of your own peace. You stop chasing worth and start standing in it, and that shift, that quiet, unshakable knowing inside of you, changes how you walk, how you speak, how you live, because once you validate yourself, no one can take that away from you. You become unstoppable. Confidence has a magnetic energy. It draws people in, not because it shouts the loudest, but because it radiates a quiet strength that speaks for itself. When someone carries themselves with genuine confidence, the room takes notice. Opportunities begin to find their way toward them, not because they're the most perfect, the most talented, or the most experienced, but because confidence makes people believe in you, even before they fully understand you. It's not about arrogance or pretending to have all the answers. It's about standing in who you are with a deep belief that you belong, that you can add value, and that you are capable of rising to the occasion. In every room, whether it's a boardroom, an audition hall, or a small conversation with someone important, your energy speaks before you do. People don't always remember your credentials or the details of your words, but they remember how you made them feel. Confidence creates trust. It tells the world, I'm ready. It signals that you're not afraid of taking on responsibility or being seen, and that kind of presence opens doors. It makes others curious. It makes them want to work with you, support you, and believe in what you're building. Many talented people go unnoticed because they're hiding behind doubt. They wait until they feel 100% ready, until they're absolutely sure, until every little detail is perfect. But the truth is, opportunities rarely come when you feel completely prepared. They show up when you're bold enough to say yes, even when you're not sure what comes next. Confidence is what bridges the gap between readiness and opportunity. It allows you to step forward when others hesitate. It creates momentum when others are still overthinking. It tells the world that you're not just wishing, you're willing. There's a reason confident people seem to attract success. It's because they move with intention, they speak with clarity, they show up consistently. Even when things don't go their way, they don't crumble. They pivot, they adapt, and they keep going. That resilience is what people admire. That drive is what leaves a mark. Confidence isn't about having all the answers. It's about being open to growth, being willing to learn, and being unafraid to try. When you walk into a space knowing your worth, opportunities naturally respond. People start seeing what you've already decided to believe about yourself, and in that moment, the doors that once seemed closed begin to open, not by chance, but by the undeniable power of your presence. Confidence doesn't just change how other people see you, it changes how you see yourself. That shift is the most powerful transformation of all. When you begin to see yourself through the lens of strength, courage, and worth, everything around you begins to align with that inner vision. You stop second-guessing your decisions. You stop playing small. You stop settling for less than you deserve, because now you recognize that you bring value to every space you enter. You understand that your voice carries weight, your perspective matters, and your dreams are not random. They're part of your calling. The way you view yourself determines how you move through life. If you see yourself as someone who isn't good enough, you'll hesitate. You'll hold back. You'll talk yourself out of opportunities. But when confidence becomes part of your self-image, you start choosing differently. You start walking with your head high, your back straight, and your heart open. You start making decisions based on belief, not fear. You're no longer waiting for permission to lead, to speak, to shine. You give that permission to yourself. This transformation begins quietly. It might show up in the way you respond to criticism. Instead of shrinking, you reflect and grow. It might appear in how you carry yourself when you walk into a room. You no longer try to disappear. You don't need to be the loudest person, but your presence is felt. You look people in the eye, not with arrogance, but with certainty. You're no longer questioning whether you belong. You know you do. Confidence becomes a filter through which you view challenges. Instead of seeing obstacles as signs to stop, you see them as chances to grow. Instead of comparing yourself to others, you start rooting for yourself. You stop measuring your worth by what others are doing, and you start focusing on your own path, and that shift frees you. It gives you energy. It gives you power. It gives you clarity. When you begin to see yourself in a new light, the world doesn't stay the same. You start attracting different relationships. You speak differently. You walk differently. You expect more, not just from others, but from yourself. That's the quiet revolution confidence brings. It starts within you, but it affects everything outside of you. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about finally seeing who you've always been. Once that vision clicks into place, there's no turning back. You've seen your worth, you've felt your power, and now you live like it. Thank you.